Hello and welcome to our van tour. Hello and welcome to our van tour. This is actually the third time that I've tried to record this in 6 months, so I'm determined to see this one through to the end. It's probably better anyway, in the fact that we've been living in this van for 6 months, so maybe gives people a little bit more of a realistic idea of what a van that's lived in looks like, rather than one that's just been finished. As nice as it would have been to show you when it was pristine with no fingerprints, no stickers and no dog hair everywhere. It is a medium wheelbase Sprinter van with quite a big difference. We cut the roof off our van and fitted the super high top that you see now, which is great because it's added an upstairs for the kids to sleep in and has just created an amazing space from a medium wheelbase. It's meant that 4 adults could actually sleep comfortably in here and not get in each other's way. Underneath here, which is where the kids' bed is, and over the cab storage, I have welded in a ladder chassis framework to put all of the strength back into the roof, which I cut off. When I was in the design process of this van, it was very important to us as a family that we weren't falling over each other, and that is why we opted to go for a non-fixed bed, as much as I, if I had the space, would definitely have a fixed bed. The compromise was to create this big living space where, when the bed's away, we've had 6+ people in here sat around having a few drinks and a chat, and yeah, that has been the reason that we went for that. We haven't actually yet found it to be that much of a pain getting the bed in and out.
A lot of people say that it's a pain in the butt having to get your bed in and out each day, but we don't find it a problem, do we? Simple as that.
But basically, this is a Fabworks rock and roll bed. It is an M1 pull tested bed with seat belts for the girls, and it's really simple to get out. We just pull it out, it sits level with the bench and creates a king size bed for me and Annie to get in. Above us, in the roof space, there is actually an adult double that the girls share. You can't quite sit up in there, but I have actually spent a couple of nights in there in times where it's been tricky getting the kids to bed and things like that, and it's very comfortable. Sometimes I actually wish I could swap. Kitchen I made myself out of 34mm batten, and all of the darker wood is teak, which a friend of mine got me from an old boat that had been broken. I love all of the reclaimed materials I've used in here, just because I think they look really pretty. The worktop is actually made out of the fascia boards of our old house, a biscuit joined together and clamped and glued. In the kitchen we had the choice of going for a Dometic CRX50 or the Isotherm. I went for the Isotherm purely on it was a little bit cheaper, and I feel like it looks nicer than the Dometic, and other than that they are pretty much the same. The Dometic does have the added advantage of having a removable freezer, which actually, if I'm honest, I probably would like that now because we don't really use the freezer. We have a Acuva UV water filter, and that's brilliant. This is just so much easier. I fill my water tanks, my underslung tank, I've got about 70 litres of water, and then that gets filtered through a carbon filter which takes out kind of chlorine and nasty taste, heavy metals, things like that. And then it gets passed through a UV LED laser, and that kills bacteria, cysts, viruses, and makes it like tasty drinking water. We've drank the water from the tank since we've moved into the van, and we've not had any trouble. I have cleaned the tank out once very recently, and that was just as a matter of course, as people apparently recommend that you clean your tank every 6 months. Have subsequently spoken to people that have never cleaned their tank out and are still walking this earth, so I'll let you make your own minds up on that one. So we've got a 2-ring gas hob grill and oven. It's an old Cala gas oven. Annie fell in love with it. I was a little bit dubious. I wanted to fit something new, but so far it's done great. And fueling that, we've got a Gasset refillable cylinder, a 6 kilo bottle, which I've actually recently just filled up. It literally cost less than a tenner to fill to the top and has lasted us several months. In the over kitchen storage, we built it around our Vitamix, thinking that we would use that all the time, as when we lived in a house we would use it almost daily. We have probably only used it about 3 times. It uses so much power that you've got to be really thoughtful about whether you really want that smoothie or whether you could just actually eat an apple. The rest of it is for non-refrigerated foods and things that we use regularly, so they're nice and easy to get to. All of the things like cans or things for specific meals fit in the cupboard underneath the cooker. And also underneath the cooker is a little bit like a larder. It's nice and cool. We keep all sort of onions, potatoes, garlics, things like that. Electricals. So originally when I built the van, I fitted 2 110 amp flooded leisure batteries. We actually ended up killing those 2 batteries, and as a result of that I've upgraded to 1 105 amp hour Lifos lithium battery, and that has honestly been a game changer because I'm no longer stressed about what the battery level's like. I've also fitted a 50 amp DC to DC charger. Now, if you have a flooded battery, then that means that your batteries can only take on about 20 amps. Now I can put 50 amps into there. After a couple of hours driving, the battery is almost fully charged. And just a short drive around town will actually put quite a bit of charge back in there. I should also mention electricals. We've got 120 watt of solar. I would have loved to have fitted a much larger panel on there, or even a couple of panels, but with the roof that we've put on, that was the biggest one I could fit. In terms of electrical equipment fitted to the van, every light in here is LED, so super efficient. We also have the diesel night heater, USB charging points, electric water pump. I have a 2500 watt inverter fitted, which I don't generally use it to max capacity, but it's there just in case we need it. The main thing it's used for is charging laptops, camera batteries, drone batteries, that kind of thing. The toilet. So I used to have a chemical toilet, and I used to pretty much have an anxiety attack anytime that anybody wanted to use the toilet, mainly because emptying it fell onto my shoulders. Oh, that sounds terrible. I'm going to start that again. Our toilet in the van is a separating toilet. I did used to have a chemical toilet, but I absolutely hated emptying it. I didn't like the fact that you had to half fill it with water before you'd even started, and the capacity wasn't that great. And so far we have found that this works much better for us. Storage in a van like this is obviously a premium. So in the bench that runs alongside the rock and roll bed is where mine and Annie's clothes are, and then the bench that runs towards the back of the bed is where all sorts of stuff that doesn't have to come out very often, bats and balls and things that the kids play with. Underneath the rock and roll bed we have all of the kids' clothes. I've divided it into 2. And what is actually quite funny since moving into the van is I thought we haven't really got enough space for clothes, so we minimised all of our belongings down. And I don't know if it's the same with you, but for me, even when I lived in a house, the first layer of clothes would be the ones that I would use consistently, and then the ones at the bottom I would forget about, until eventually the ones on the top got so worn out that you had to throw them away, and then you'd be like, oh, I forgot about that t-shirt. Well, I can tell you that exactly the same thing has happened in this van. I am now living in this, a couple of t-shirts and a couple of pairs of jeans, so I could probably cut my clothes in half again. I won't know. I've also got some over cab storage. which on one side I keep all my camera equipment, and then next to that I have my washing bag, and behind that all things to do with washing and kind of like a utility room, I guess. And then above that, with a false floor, we've got all of the kids' games and crafts. And believe it or not, behind that I've got a Roland Cube busking amp and all of my music equipment. Above that is the medicine cabinet, so all of your paracetamols, plasters, you know, the things that you have just in case. So originally we used to have curtains fitted to the van. We ended up getting rid of those as it started to get colder. Condensation was forming on the windows more, and I was ending up using foil blinds that I'd made, which kind of made the curtains pointless. The other thing is that a lot of light escaped past the curtains, so when it was night time and you flick the lights on, it's a bit of a beacon, especially if you like wild camping, so I didn't like that. I felt like it drew attention to us. So I ended up contacting Dave at Swell Shades, who's a guy that I've worked with again when I had my company, and he was great. I gave him the dimensions of the windows and he custom made them to the colour that we wanted, and they're great. They're blackout, they're honeycomb, and they're thermal as well. And it definitely has reduced condensation, and from the outside, unless you're looking very closely, even with all the lights on inside the van, it's completely black outside, and that was exactly what I wanted. The window sills are also made out of the teak. They weren't quite long enough, so I've had to scarf joint to extend them out, and unless you look close you can't really tell, but I think they look really nice the way it frames the window rather than having the normal shape of the window and carpet lined round. That's not really the kind of thing that I like. You might also notice that on the bits of metalwork that would normally be exposed, rather than putting the four-way stretch carpet, we actually got Hessian sack material and glued that on there, and I feel that looks really good and rustic and much more in keeping with the rest of the van. The finished floor that you look at is reclaimed bamboo that we got off Facebook Marketplace. It was really lightweight, looks really nice, and it's already scratched to hell, so that means that any more scratches that get put on it are no big deal. Dotted around the van, all the nice little bits of B-roll that I'm cutting to now are all Annie. Felt like home, and actually the van feels more homely than any house that we've ever lived in, because we just did whatever we wanted to do in here in regards to finishing, and it's actually inspired me that once we do settle down I will be doing my house in the exact same way. Outside of the van, so Pickles used to be white, like I said, and the reason that Pickles is blue, a beautiful blue I might add, is actually quite a funny story. I had a friend of mine that was going to paint the van. He said, "What colour do you want it?" And I said, "White, the same colour that it already was. It just needed the bodywork doing on it." To which he replied, "I paint vans all day Arctic white, I'm not painting it white." And I was like, "Okay." He said, "What other colours do you like?" So I said, "Blue." So he brought some BMW blue, I'm not sure what colour, poured some into the Arctic white, mixed it up, and this is the colour we're with. I think it's a pretty good match to the sky on a sunny day, but we love it anyway. We've got BF Goodrich tyres fitted. There was a couple of reasons for doing that. I did a lot of research on tyres, and I wanted something that were 3 peaks rated, which basically means in the countries where by law it is a requirement to have winter tyres, then these fit the bill. And also, anybody else that has normal tyres on a rear-wheel drive van that's ever driven onto a wet field will know how likely it is that you get stuck. I've been stuck so many times and it is a complete pain in the backside. I can tell you now that since having it, I have tested it on several wet, boggy, grassy fields, just for fun really, And yeah, it's been massively different. Got straight out. I've not been stuck since. So I feel that they were a great investment, as well as the fact that they look super cool. All of the cushions that are behind me at the moment and down to the side have all of our jumpers and cardigans and things like that in. And the big one that's upside down, it is upside down because the zip is broken, has got all our winter coats, gloves, hats and things like that in there. Just trying to have a smart use of space without making it look too cluttered. Thanks for coming and seeing our van tour. Hopefully you found it useful and there's some things that you can take away for your own van build. If there's anything that you feel that I haven't spoken about with much detail or something I've missed off completely, then feel free to leave it in the comments and I'll do my best to answer it. We put a weekly vlog out, so don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos, and hopefully we'll see you on the road. See you next week.